Saksham, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all had an amazing day. WWDC just ended a while back ago and I just had enough time to gather my thoughts and make this highlight or what happened in today's event. So I'm going to try to keep this video short and it won't be too long. So get your seat, grab something to eat and drink, and let's get started. This event was very different considering that this was online and we never really had or experienced any of this or how Apple would be doing it, but I will have to say the video production quality for the whole event was fantastic. So now jumping back to what got announced, so we have iOS 14. It's the next operating system for the iOS. I thought it would be called like iPhone OS, but it's iOS 14 and we got tons of stuff with this. So first thing that came from iOS is App Library. So App Library is basically like on your home screen, instead of having all the apps together, now you can bunch them. It's folders, but big folders, and also you can view all your screens at once now. So instead of just swiping, especially like when you're making the pages super hard, so now you can view all your screens at once. Second thing that got added to iOS is widgets. So now we got introduced to widgets in iPadOS and just like Spotlight search, but it's so much better. It's like you take Android widgets, if you have heard about them or seen them, and just bring them to iOS. You can have the widgets on the left side in the Spotlight window, or you can actually bring them to the main screen, main home screen, one of those pages, and customize it the way you like. There are many widgets. One of my favorites so far from the basically looking at all the images and videos is the Smart Stack. What that widget lets you do is just like put it on the screen and then just swipe that widget itself and we'll just cycle through all the widgets. And also in the morning, it's smart enough, so let's say in the morning it shows them the news, then weather and all that kind of stuff. Third thing that's coming in iOS 14 is picture in picture. So we had picture in picture on iPads and macOS since a really long time, but having that on your phone is, I think, it was really needed, because now you can be watching a video and you can just go home and it will still be there. Moving from picture in picture, we are introduced with a brand new Siri. Now with Siri, we all know when we activating Siri, it goes full screen and it hides whatever we are doing on the screen. Now with the new UI, it's minimal, so it's not going to cover your whole screen. You will still be able to see the whole screen content and it'll just be at the bottom. And I love this interface. I don't know why this wasn't there before, but this new Siri interface is amazing. Now there's more changes to Siri that's happening, such as just better neural engine and all that stuff, but I'm going to cover that in a later video. Moving along, we get a new app called Translate. Now Translate, I think, is just going to be like Google Translate, so you can translate any language from or to, and it can detect language, so you don't really need to know which language someone is speaking. And also Apple said this will work offline, so we will have to test that out, but it seems pretty cool. Next up, let's talk about messages. So messages have not gotten too big of an update, but I think this update is pretty neat. So first things first, we get is something called pins. So now let's just say you get lots of messages, but there are few people you always want to talk to and you want them on top of the list. Now you can pin them and they will always be on top. Number two, we get group messages. So we already had group chats and group messages, but we got an update on that. You can actually reply to specific messages. On top of that, with group icons, or we see like when we open a contact, we see the images on the top. Now with group chats, what's going to happen is it's going to have the emojis with whatever picture they have. Now on top of that, the person who's most active on the group chat, they have the biggest icon or biggest profile picture on top of the group chats. So after that, we get an update on maps. So now last year when iOS 13 came out, or iPadOS 13, same thing. Basically, we got this update on the map and it was nice, but it was not available in almost every single country. Mainly it was focused on US. And now that map is also extended or completely covered in Canada, UK and Ireland. There's something called guides now. So let's just say you want to go to a place and you just want guides for that, so you can save them offline and they always update, so you always have the latest information. On top of all that, we have the option of cycling now. So when you're going from one location to another location, so instead of you just using transit, walk or drive, now you can also have a dedicated option for cycling, and it will show you all the cycling routes and what option you have. It will even show you if you might need to carry the bike up the stairs or if it's a steep hill and all that kind of stuff. And lastly, we also got something with new CarPlay, and they showed it with BMW 2021 model. I forgot the exact name, but basically now you can, instead of carrying a key fob, you can put that into the wallet app and the phone just becomes a key for the car, just like how Tesla has it, but you have to have the app. Now you can just have that natively within the wallet app. Few more things with that is you can share the car key to other people using iMessage. You can basically send them a key, put restrictions, and put restriction on driving profiles. So if you want to be like someone, don't go over the speed, you will be able to, or should be able to, add all those restrictions and share access, and you can always take it anytime away. Next up, let's talk about the App Store. Nothing major to it, but something pretty cool, and that is, let's just say I send or someone sends you a message or share something, and now to view that you need a specific app. Now something called App Clips will just bring a pop-up or hovering window from the bottom, and you can actually view it, and basically interact with an app without actually downloading the app on a phone. So basically this is a new UI where you don't actually have to download apps to actually use them. Let's just say you go to a restaurant or you just use a QR code, or this is called basically Apple Clip QR code, and then you can just do quick transactions. You don't even have to put a credit card details or email IDs because you can use Apple Pay and sign in with Apple, and you don't have to download apps, especially when you don't have enough space. That will save you a lot. So that's majority of the stuff that's coming in iOS 14. Now it's not everything. I will be making a dedicated video on iOS 14 and of course every single OS. So make sure to press the subscribe button and hit the bell to get notified. But now let's jump on to iPadOS. So everything that is said from iOS 14 will of course jump over to iPadOS, but we've got a few more things. So let's start with experience. So we do again have the redesigned widgets from iOS 14. The Photos app, Notes app, and even the calendar all got a new redesign. There's something called Sidebar that you can access to view your libraries, all notes, and basically all events of the calendar. In short, it's like the calendar app, Notes app, and Photos app in macOS just brought over to iPadOS. Next up we have Siri, which is of course just coming from iOS 14, just more optimized for iPadOS. Something that's new is search. Now you might have heard search in iPad. You can just pull down search items, search applications. Now I won't really call it search because this is more like Spotlight that we have in Mac. So now you can just type, if you have a keyboard, you can just start typing randomly and it will open up a search bar, and basically you can use this thing to just navigate throughout your iPad. Next up, let's talk about the coolest feature of the whole iPadOS, and that's Scribble with the Apple Pencil. So if you're someone like me who loves the Apple Pencil and just keeps on using it, and there are times when let's just say I'm using my Apple Pencil and then go in Safari. Now to search up, I click on the search tab, and now instead of using the keyboard, I can just use my Apple Pencil and write in the search, write in the text field, and will basically convert handwritten to text and just use that. So I really find that really neat because it will be really helpful in many of the scenarios. And that especially for me is one of the coolest things that's coming in iPadOS, just because when you have the Apple Pencil and let's just say your iPad is flat and you're using it, you just don't want to like lift it up or type on the screen, or if you have a keyboard, put it in that formation to do that. So that's basically everything with iPadOS. And now let's talk a little bit about AirPods. So there was not much about it, but if you have AirPods and AirPods Pro, number one thing you get is automatic conversion. So let's just say I'm using my iPad, I'm listening to something with AirPods on, I pick my phone, I get a call from my phone, my AirPods will automatically switch to the phone. I'll go to my Mac, start something, video call up there, the AirPods automatically switch. And honestly, I've been waiting for this feature because it's so frustrating if you're using a device and you have to go on the one, go in Bluetooth and change, or go on a phone control center and then change it. It's super frustrating. So having automatic switching on AirPods throughout all your devices is probably one of the best things that's coming to the AirPods. Next up, if you have AirPods Pro, there's something called spatial sound. It's basically like getting audio from all around your ears. So it's like 360, front, back, left, right. And Apple just talked about it, how it's coming to the AirPods. Now let's talk about watchOS. So next watchOS is called watchOS 6. Now you can customize your watch faces and even share watch faces. So let's just say I create a watch face, I can send it to others. We have 3 new workouts available on watchOS, from dancing to core training and also cool down. Next up, something new to watchOS is sleep tracking, and I was not expecting this. It's basically called winding down. So if you do end up setting this up, what actually happens is your phone goes into wind down, and where it just reduces the amount of stuff or notifications you get before bedtime and just gets you prepared for that. And as soon as it comes near your bedtime, it goes into sleep, along with watch goes into sleep mode. There's a new interface for watch in sleep mode where you can see the time if you tap on it, and when it's time to wake up, you can wake up using a chime, or also feedback from your watch, like haptic feedback that all Apple Watches have. And the last thing you get with watchOS 7 is hand wash tracking. So basically, let's just say you go to wash your hands and your watch will detect you washing your hands using the movement and the sound of the water, and it will basically play this nice animation and make sure you wash your hands properly. And makes sense, like because of the whole situation right now, you do want to wash your hands, so that's pretty cool to see on your watch. I'm not too sure how well this is going to work, so I really want to test it out as soon as the beta comes out. So next up in privacy, there are a few things. Now you can actually convert your existing accounts on apps to sign in with Apple, and also instead of sharing exact location that most of the apps request, you can just say share an estimated or approximate location where you are. And along with that, now every app must ask you about tracking permission. So it will just say, do you allow the app to track you, or you don't want your information to be tracked. Following that, if you ever read privacy policies, you know they get boring and they're just confusing, and it's not fun reading it, right? But now every single app needs to inform you in precise and clear words what exactly they will be tracking and what exactly is in their privacy policy. Next up, we get some improvements with Home, so HomePod, Apple TV, Home Environment, HomeKit, and all this kind of stuff with security and facial recognition, setting tracking parameters and all that kind of stuff, which I will cover in later video just because there isn't too much to it. And now let's jump on to to macOS, and this year's new macOS is actually called macOS Big Sur. Now, talking about macOS Big Sur, there are many changes to it, from UI interfaces to basically the way you interact with the Mac. So now we have a brand new dock at the bottom, just the way we have it on the iPad, the hovering dock. All the icons are redesigned, and honestly they look really nice. I like these icons, and every single toolbar to UI is basically changed. Finder got a new design from sidebar to toolbar, looks pretty good and it's amazing. The toolbar that's on top of your Mac is actually customizable now. You can go in Control Center and you can just drag. Let's just say you want to use Wi-Fi a lot, so instead of going and changing that, you can just drag that on top of the toolbar and it will stay there. Notification Center got a completely redesigned. I'm not sure how many people use Notification Center, but personally I use it a lot, and I did not like the last look or previous look that we have right now for Notification Center, because you have to click on the icon and then it just pops up and it's not great. And now with the new, it just looks really good. We got widgets on the Mac just the way we have it on the iPad and iPhones now. Along with that, we got an update to Messages app, the Mail app, and also the Photos app, and they all look amazing. Again, I will be covering more details on every single OS later in other videos, just because I want to keep this video short for those who just want to know what's happening. So moving on from Maps and Mail app and Photos app getting redesigned, Calendar also got a redesign, and we have a brand new Safari. So now Safari, I think, got the biggest update so far, and honestly I've not imagined this in any sort of way. So first of all, like the whole macOS, we got a brand new UI for Safari. Every single icon is different and it looks pretty good. Now you have a full-on customizable landing screen, from starting up a new background to iCloud tabs and also reading lists. You can basically customize it the way you like it. There's so many more extensions for Safari now, and so much more that you now need a specific tab on the Mac App Store to download the extensions. Another focus on Safari has been on privacy in a very big way. Now there's a brand new tab right beside your search bar, which will basically show you what was blocked and prevented from tracking on that website. You can click on it and you can further click on it to get exactly what's happening, like more details on what's being stopped, what Safari stopped. And going with the same thing, privacy and extensions, because extension is a really easy way for developers or third-party companies to just steal all your data. So now when you install an extension on your Safari, you actually have to click on the extension for it to work. It will not just automatically always run. Now of course you can change the settings. All your saved passwords are also safely monitored to avoid breaches, and also now according to Apple, Safari loads up a page, existing page that you frequently visiting page, 50 times faster than Chrome. And one last thing that was missing from Safari for years now was live translation. So if you go on a page, let's just say it's in French, and your computer sends you English, it will not translate the page. Like if you go use Google Chrome or any other browser, it will automatically translate it. Now you can do that same thing with Safari, but you just have to click on a tab and then translate. So that was basically all the major stuff that happened in today's event. Something new got announced, and that's the Apple Silicon chip. So Apple will be moving on from Intel to Apple Silicon. They've not really released the name what they will be called, but they did say it will be a 2-year transition, and they're basically doing their best or helping putting as many resources out there to help developers and all these app creators convert their existing app from Intel based to macOS Silicon based. And to prove that, they also showed a Mac Pro running the same chip on the latest iPad Pros, which is the A13Z chip. And yeah, that was basically the event. So hope you like this video. Hopefully it's not too long. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you like this video. And as I said before, I will be making more videos about this whole event, going more in detail, so make sure you don't miss that, and I will see you guys later.